So we're back for Weekend Wellbeing, and I'm joined once again by Karen Ferguson from the Maven Club. Hi, Karen. How's it going?
Hi, Nathan. Yeah, it's going really well. I've had one of those days where I've had a few one-to-one sessions with, I was going to say some of my favorite clients, but that's probably a bit naughty. So I'm feeling quite excited today, just having a really special time with them.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. It's really great to see you again. Last week we looked at the idea of that five a day, five encouragements that you could give to
Mm,
people. I think a brilliant practice, something we could all put into practice and make a habit of, because
hmm
again, we sometimes forget the power of our words and how much we can
hmm
influence someone else with a
Yeah,
simple word of encouragement or thanks of some kind. So yeah, brilliant.
yeah.
What do we have for today?
So we're actually kind of going right back to thinking about ourselves again. So, like you say, it's wonderful, isn't it, just to think about how how rewarding it is to encourage others. But today we're going to focus a little bit more on being kind to yourself. Um, and part of the reason for that is just because of within my professional life, I do get this privilege of spending one-to-one time with people as they're either getting things going, so entrepreneurs that are starting things up, or people who are growing in their roles. And what one of the themes is that often comes through is this tendency for us to be quite harsh on ourselves and quite unkind. So um, today, for example, I had an hours long one-to-one session with incredible, fantastic female founder entrepreneur. She's so inspirational, and her story from what she's done and how quickly she's achieved things and the impact that her company is having is so incredible. But I just noticed, even though it's a virtual catch up, that there was a real sort of sense of her being slightly slouched today, feeling quite flat because it just seemed like, firstly, things were quite overwhelming, but also that that she just kept coming up against barriers. And so we spent time doing what we do, but one of the things that it made me really reflect on is how easy it is for the attack to come from within. So it doesn't always need to be something that's said to us or over us or about us. But quite often it's what we can say to ourselves that can really impact negatively on our mental health. And so it's learning how to be kind to ourselves. And I quite often will ask people if they are in a role of leadership to think about how they're treating the boss, aka themselves. How are they treating the boss? And I get them to think about whether their expectations of themselves are actually unfair or realistic. Because I think we often, where we have grace for others, we can often be really harsh on ourselves. Where we'll have forgiveness for others and their mistakes, we'll quite often be really unforgiving of ourselves. So I will often ask them these three questions around how they are treating the team leader. And so part of that is the very basic question of how did I treat myself? So in that scenario, and let's say it's a scenario that didn't quite go to plan. How did I treat myself? Like, let's be real here. Let's actually stop, reflect, and analyze. How did I treat myself? The second question is, would I treat someone else in my team or in life the way that I just treated myself? It's very telling. Like, would I treat someone else that way? And then the third question is, did I say anything to myself that I wouldn't dare say to another person? That I wouldn't because it's unkind. And usually, what this exercise does is it reveals that we're being quite harsh on ourselves and we're not learning to be kind to ourselves. And it seems that that is the sort of human defaults, that we kind of lean towards being unkind to ourselves rather than looking out for ourselves. So sometimes our well-being is not so much what is happening in circumstances or what others are saying to or about us, but it's actually what's kind of coming from within, and how we are treating ourselves. And, we've chatted before, haven't we, around the danger of going down rabbit holes and how we can sort of hang out down in those warrens and think of all the negativities and stuff. But the question really is, how are you treating yourself? And then today's theme is about being kind to yourself. So my weekend challenge this week is to ask the listeners to write themselves a little note or a little greetings card or something that they can put up somewhere that is something that's really kind to themselves. So they can write it to themselves as if they were someone else, maybe highlighting an attribute or something that they've done well or a quality that they like, and learn to be kind to themselves. So say something really kind to themselves and then put it somewhere that they are going to see it. So, if you brush your teeth a couple of times a day or more, put it near your toothbrush and read it. Or if you go to the fridge a lot, put it there. If you're a tea person, put it on the kettle, whatever it might be. Put it somewhere you're going to see. I quite often will have post-it notes stuck to my screen. Sometimes I'll have Bible verses, sometimes I'll have affirmations, sometimes I'll just have to-do notes. But I'll put those things there so that I see it. I can't avoid seeing it. When you see it, read it to yourself again and again and again. All weekend, just keep reading this note to yourself in the hope that you're actually going to absorb it and take it in and learn to be kind to yourself. So your challenge this weekend is to write yourself a kind note and be kind to yourself.
Mm. That's really interesting. I know I, for one, fall foul of beating myself up, to metaphorically, because
Mm-hmm.
of things I feel like I could have done better, or
Mm-hmm.
I could have done that faster, or maybe I could have done that, just to a better quality, a higher standard. And I mean, I frequently fall foul of not being very kind to myself, very, very harsh on
Mm-hmm.
myself. I think we all
Mm-hmm.
do the same, at some point or
Absolutely.
another. Some of us perhaps more than others, but we all perhaps judge ourselves very harshly, and that can be really helpful, especially because actually, as we've mentioned before, the perspective of others on yourself is often very different to your own,
Mm-hmm.
and they can see things that you can't, and you can see
Yeah.
things that they can't. But it is important to again get the perspective of others, and yeah, to be kind to ourselves because we're not perfect, just like anyone else is.
Yeah.
We are all in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd love to hear some tales of notes that your listeners have written to themselves and whether that's helped. Just, that there is power in words spoken. And so I quite often, if I'm really struggling, I will write something and then I will make sure that I say it out loud. So as stupid as that might look, if everybody was looking, most of the time I'm by myself when I'm doing it. But I believe there's power in hearing, not just reading quietly. So I will make a point of saying those things so that I'm hearing it and reading it and hoping that, that starts to kind of sink in. And so, yeah, it's a great thing to be able to do that and to say it out loud to yourself. But I'd love, if anyone wants to share what their note of kindness was, that would be great to hear from some of your listeners.
Yeah, yeah. Do let us know. What would you say to yourself that is kind, that is encouraging, that's, perhaps not contrary to many of the harsh judgments that you say to yourself. Oh gosh, you should have done that better, or what was wrong with you? I mean, these sort of questions we say to ourselves, they aren't
Yeah,
necessarily very healthy. I mean, it is good to check ourselves, examine how we've done things, and analyze it occasionally, but not too harsh and
yeah,
not too often. And what you were
yeah,
saying about speaking out loud, I remember somebody saying that there's a real power in that when you say something out loud because the sound obviously reverberates throughout your body,
yeah,
so it's actually much more powerful and a lot more, I guess, a lot more effective than just
yeah,
thinking it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I believe there's sort of like, some scientific evidence around this. But I think, it's a good practice to get into is to
Mm.
make sure you're hearing it as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so it's easy for us to slip down down the negative road, isn't it? So
It
this is
is.
about making sure, yeah, you're looking after yourself. And believe me, I need this one just the same as everybody else. It's one that I am very good at encouraging other people, but I kind of need that reminder myself to do it as well. So I would definitely, I've always said to you, Nathan, I'm not going to ask anyone to do anything that I shouldn't do. And I love these sessions because they remind me to do it. So I will be writing myself a little note when we get off the call, and I will be making sure that I'm being kind to myself as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I will try and do the same myself. And just one more thing I wanted to mention on this actually is that often I think we think that pride is thinking more of yourself than you are, but actually you can go the opposite direction. It's the same problem. Same pride is thinking that you're
Yeah,
less than you
less,
are.
yeah,
We
very
want
much so.
a healthy medium where we're not.
Yeah,
So I guess again, it's pride either way, but neither is better than the other. They're both
yeah,
unhealthy.
exactly. They're both damaging for us.
Yeah.
And, what you said before, I think it's really healthy to be reflective, to be able to learn, to be able to go, oh, I could have done that better. But that's quite different to being harsh on yourself. So
Mm.
it's good to be able to have reflective practice and think, what could I have done different? What would I do next time? But then what we tend to do is then we go really harsh on ourselves and we stay down in that place of kind of, yeah, self-examining and being just unfairly harsh in a way that we wouldn't with others. So this is
Mm.
why it's important to learn to be kind to ourselves, to forgive ourselves, get over it, learn from it, and then make sure that we are putting kindness back in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Karen. Good to hear from you again. Look
Thank
forward to
you.
speaking again soon.
Fabulous. And be kind to yourself this weekend then, Nathan.
I will. You too.
Fabulous. See you again.